Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing Alex Rou's Bazaar of Boxes winning mono-green Cloudpost deck. So I have played Cloudpost before a few times. I've had a reasonable go of it. I think I've got maybe 2 4-1s and a 3-2 out of it. Not too bad. But this version has got some new tech in the One Ring, which is why I decided to showcase this deck today. So the One Ring is a new artifact from the Lord of the Rings set. It's an indestructible artifact. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you gain protection from everything until your next turn. That means nobody's attacking you, nobody's storming off. It's all great. Although the one thing this doesn't stop, because you can still be attacked, right? You can't be damaged. So an Emrakul can attack you and annihilate your permanents. That's one thing that this doesn't stop. But aside from that, it's just going to buy you a whole extra turn. But the other meat of this card is you can tap it to put a counter on it and draw a card for each counter on it. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each counter on it. So this is just going to draw you 1 card, and then 2, and then 3. So over the course of just a few turns, you end up drawing ridiculous amounts. We don't have ways of untapping it, like some of the decks that are running this do, but it should be pretty potent for us, and it's colourless, so we can cast it off our Cloudposts and things like that, which is obviously the name of the deck. So we're trying to assemble Cloudposts, Glimmerposts, and things like Vesuva to copy the Cloudpost to just get huge amounts of mana that we can put into an Eye of Ugin to tutor up ourselves an Emrakul the Yearns of Torn, which we're going to hardcast, or Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, we're going to hardcast as well. Now, to sort of bridge that gap, we've got these Primeval Titans, so if we can cast one of these, quite often off of a Green Sun Zenith, that will give us enough for the next turn to either find an Eldrazi or cast an Eldrazi if we have one. The Green Sun Zenith also gives us access to more Elvish Reclaimers when we need them, an Azusa Lost But Seeking if we've got a lot of lands in our hand that we need to dump out, and a Ramunap Excavator so we can just keep playing from the things from the graveyard if we're getting wastelanded or whatever. And if we're getting wastelanded, we do have Pithing Needles in the deck. 3 main deck Pithing Needles to stop wasteland from ruining our day. And we've got some ways of tutoring stuff up, crop rotation, Elvish Reclaimer, expedition map. So these can all find our stuff. And then we have, once upon a time, just to smooth out our opening hands a little bit and make sure that we're getting things sort of lined up nicely so we can work out if we need to start on a Cloudpost or a forest and then work from there. In the mana base, we've got a few little silver bullets. We've got a Bojuka Bog that we can go and get with crop rotation or whatever, or the Elvish Reclaimer instant speed and get rid of our opponent's graveyard. Pretty good considering all the graveyard decks around. Boseiju, which we can tutor for with expedition map and then use it to blow up problem permanents. A Cavern of Souls so we can make our Primeval Titan uncounterable because Emrakul can't be counted anyway, and just getting this Primeval Titan out is usually going to get us there. We have 1 Dark Depths to go with our 2 Thespian stage in case we want to go for a combo that way around. We have a Glacial Chasm, which used to be the way that this deck turtled up, but I think the One Ring does a pretty good job of buying you that extra turn that you need. And if you can chain multiple One Rings together, then you can really start cooking with gas. Then we got a Tabernacle, so if people are trying to go wide with lots of creatures, we can kind of punish them for that, because we're generally going to have 1 or 2 creatures, and that's about it. And we've got Yavimaya to help give us multiple green pips if we need to cast, you know, a bunch of green spells. So Yavimaya is usually what you end up with to cast your Primeval Titan if you're casting it for green rather than fetching it with a Green Sun Zenith. Because obviously you want to have a lot of colourless lands in play. So sometimes striking that balance is a bit difficult. We also have a Karakas here, which is just, you know, a standout land to bounce some legends. It lets us replay our Emrakul so we can infinite turns lock our opponent if just casting Emrakul and attacking with it isn't enough, which sometimes it isn't against like some combo decks and things. They might be able to beat that. So we can just say, no, we're going to have another go with it. Or we can bounce our Ulamog and just keep removing things. So the Karakas is kind of a bit of defense, but also we have offensive applications with it. And that's it for the main deck. We're going to make a load of mana and play some massive things. We're going to go over the top of everyone. That's kind of what Cloudpost does, because you can't go more over the top than hardcasting Emrakul. Sideboard-wise, we have very specific tools, and we want lots of them. So Mindbreak Trap, we're pretty weak to Storm. We're a mono-green deck, right? So we need some help against that. We have Carpet of Flowers. This is especially good against decks that are going to be trying to mess with our mana base with wastelands and things. So like the blue Delvery style decks where they wasteland you a bunch. This lets you jump up the curve. It's also very good against a lot of the control decks in the field at the moment. We've got some more graveyard hate in the form of Endurances. And we've got a Collector Ouphe as a nice Green Sun Zenith target, which is going to be excellent against decks that have a whole bunch of artifacts that we need to worry about. Things like Painter, not so much the Painter because we have the Emrakul. But they have a bunch of other artifacts that we might need to deal with, because they do end up getting the 3-card combo to paint you out, and that can still beat you. Collector Ouphe can shut that down. Shuts down 8 cast, and it's very good against the all-in One Ring deck, which obviously we're not the all-in One Ring deck. We're just playing it because it's good. But there's a deck with Paradox Engine and stuff where they can't win if a Collector Ouphe is on the battlefield. And also Storm decks where they want to play out a load of 0-drop artifacts that have activated abilities and lines like diamonds and stuff, and we can just say no to that. And then we have 4 Force of Vigor to blow up artifacts again for some of the matchups I just mentioned. So our sideboard is pretty focused there, I think you'd say. And that's pretty much how this deck works. So before I jump into the league, like and subscribe. These things help me, and why not check out the Patreon in the description below, and also the Discord. Just come say hi. It's nice to talk to people who watch my stuff and get some feedback that way. All right, let's play some Legacy. All right, this hand seems okay. We're relying on this Once Upon a Time to find us something, but that's not exactly a mystery. That's something that we do quite often in this deck. Our opponent's got a 61 card deck, which could be something like Oops All Spells, which we don't really have much recourse for unless we're going to dig really hard for a crop rotation and hope that's good. But they'll kill us on their turn 1 anyway, so I think we're just going to keep this and hope they're playing a different deck with 61 cards. Usually decks that play 61 cards tend to have like a single like tutor element or something, so they're like goblins where they have lots of tutors. They can, the cost of them putting in an extra card doesn't actually dilute their plan, it just gives them an additional option. Okay, so Verdant Catacombs. Could be a whole bunch of different decks, so we shall see. Okay, so this is good. We can play our Elvish Reclaimer if that's what we want to do. What do we want here? I don't think we need this other Titan. We'll just take a post here. And then we'll play out this Elvish Reclaimer. This will give us a bunch of options moving forward. So we can go and get a Cloudpost next turn if we want to, and start ramping up our mana that way. Swords to Plowshares. Alright, we're not going to get a Cloudpost. We're probably looking at some sort of relatively fair deck in the Maverick ballpark, perhaps. But they could be like a depth strategy, which the Thespian stage is very good against, because if they just play out a depth, then we can just get it off of them. Okay. I think we are going to hang out our expedition map here, and we'll play out a Glimmerpost. I don't want them to know about the Thespian stage, because I'd rather they play into it with like a Dark Depth or something and just give us a potential for a free win. We could just go for Dark Depth combo ourselves here, but against a deck that's already shown us Swords to Plowshares, that might not be the most effective line to victory. If we can cast this Primeval Titan, we should be good. Okay, this is an interesting one, isn't it? I think we'll play out the Thespian stage now, and then we will pass the turn, and we can expedition map if we want to. Kind of tempted to copy their Savannah though, just so we get double green, but I think cracking the expedition map for a Cloudpost is where I want to be. Right, opponent cracked their fetch land for a Bayou, and then no play. Interesting. What is going on here? This feels like an opposition agent, to be honest. I don't want to play into that, so I'm going to just copy this Plains instead. The Savannah, so I have double green for when the time comes. So now I'll play out Dark Depths. Like, what our opponent has to have cards in hand, and the only reason you wouldn't play one out now is if it's an opposition agent. An Endurance. Am I more interested in Dark Depthsing here, or would I rather have this expedition map cracked for a 1, 2, 3, 4? Have to decide if I want to try and make the 2020 now, or try and fetch around opposition agent. That's actually a little bit of a tricky call there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We might have to get Yavimaya here, because we need to turn this Dark Depths into a mana producing land, and then we can worry about the rest after we cast our Primeval Titan. Like, we're not going to have our Primeval Titan counterspell because they're just not showing us blue mana. We can just take a few hits from this Endurance. Now, Opposition Agent is something that's obviously good against the Primeval Titan. Questing Beast. Sure. That is a legendary permanent. So I think this turn we are playing our Karakas out, so we can avoid being attacked. This will prevent 4 damage to us. Right, our opponent's tapping out their black mana, which is good. Plague Engineer. I don't care about that. What is this going to name? I don't know what it's going to name, to be honest. Like Elf, maybe? So they're a Reclaimer. Construct. Alright, so they're worried about Urza Saga tokens. That's pretty reasonable. Let's bounce this Questing Beast. Hope our opponent doesn't play any black mana this turn in their second main phase. They haven't played a land yet this turn, I believe. Alright, so we have played around the opposition agent. Now we can play our Primeval Titan. Alright, which will be Yavimaya anyway, sure. Cast this green, green. Alright, let's go and get this Primeval Titan on the go. Yes, I'd like to use this. We'll go and get 2 Cloudposts, I think, at this point. We're okay life total wise. We can cast another Primeval Titan next turn. This can roadblock a decent chunk of creatures as well. Source of Plowshare, shot will gain some life instead. That's also fine. I imagine the Questing Beast is going to come down again and they can bash for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So taking 3 effectively from the place we're at before they passed our, ploughed our Primeval Titan. Let's see what they go for here. We're tapping out a black mana, so it's not opposition agent, then I'm happy. So how much is this? This is currently 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I play this. This is 13, 14, 15 mana. So if I draw an Emrakul, I can just cast it and the game is over. Questing Beast. No black mana in their pool. So we'll take our damage here. Glacial Chasm. So stats for 2. That's for 2. And we'll go green, green. Oh, these tap for 3, don't they? So tap this one and this one. Let's get Primeval Titan on the go. Yes, I'd like to use his ability. Questing Beast gets around Glacial Chasm, so we can't use that as a plan here. So we want the Eye of Ugin, I think, here. And do we just want another Glimmerpost, just pad our life total? So currently tapping for 3, let's tap for 4, tap for 5. So how much mana do we need to do our thing? So it's 7 on the Eye, and then 12 on the Emrakul. Because it makes, no, it's 13, isn't it? 7 and, so you need 20 mana. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I think we do need a Cloudpost here. And we play out a Glimmerpost. And then we make this copy a Cloudpost. So we gain 1 additional life with our Glimmerpost. Right, so now we're up to 15 again. And we can bounce the Questing Beast. And turn after we can just make an Emrakul. Although if they do have that opposition agent, that could be awkward for us. I'm going to attack with just the Questing Beast here, or the Engineer as well. This is fine, we'll just bounce this Beast. And we can take 2, that's fine. I don't want to trade the Death Touch here. So what we can do is we can attack with the Primeval Titan. And then if they do opposition agent in response, then we Green Sun Zenith. So I think we'll play this out and gain a bunch of life. We go attacks. I do think they have the opposition agent, but they have to decide if they want to stop our Primeval Titan triggers or our Eye of Ugin triggers here. Here it comes. Oh, it's an Endurance. Okay. Are they going to try and double block this? That's fine too. Our opponent doesn't look like they've got an unfair plan in their deck. So what do we want here? I think I'll take a Tabernacle and a Glimmerpost to pad life total. Or do we just want this Cloudpost? I'll take a Glimmerpost here. Just gain a bunch of life. I'm going to double block here. How much does this tap for? 8. That's a lot of mana, isn't it? Let's cast this Green Sun Zenith. They can still have opposition agent here. Oh, I've done that for 1 too many. Can we get Primeval Titan here? And what do we want here? Get a Vesuva and a Cloudpost. This can come in as a copy of Glimmerpost, I guess. Just pad our life total. We've got so much mana right now. Am I supposed to activate this now? Let's try it. Do they have the opposition agent? They do not. Okay, so it's just game over here. Emrakul, let's have another turn. Let's blow up their world. Right, they're scooping because we've got Emrakul, Primeval Titan going. So these sorts of mid-range decks are pretty good for us. I have to imagine they have some amount of Wasteland effects in their deck. Not even sure we need anything else here. I don't think they're going to have any, like, destroy all your non-basic land type affair. I think we just run back the same 60 again. Like mid-range decks trying to win the game in a relatively fair fashion are always going to struggle against a deck that's just going over the top. You need to either get us dead before we can do our stuff, or have, like, even trying to control this deck is going to be difficult, really. You need to go under it because we go over everything else, because eventually we'll cast uncountable Eldrazi, unless you have a way of answering every Eldrazi. We have the new card, which makes me want to play this. I think we do keep this. We've got the basic forest, which we can turn into a Cloudpost and generate some decent mana early on. Once upon a time for our opponent. Collector Ouphe. Oh, little One Ring's looking a bit sad. That's sometimes how it is, isn't it? We're going to save the Yavimaya so we can get green when the time comes. So we're just going to play out like this. I don't think our opponent's running Dark Ritual into Opposition Agent, but we're probably going to get a spot where we can cast this crop rotation where we don't have to worry about that anyway. Prismatic Vista. And a Forest. You know, like a Fiend Artisan or something. We're just going to play the Ouphe out right now, stop us using Expedition Map. Sure, that's fine. We don't need Expedition Map to win this game. Our opponent's end step, we will crop rotate this away, go and get ourselves a Cloudpost, and tap. It's kind of tempting to play out this Reclaimer. I think we play out the Reclaimer here. This can go and find us more Cloudposts if we need them. So currently the lands in our hand will cast this Primeval Titan. But next turn we could play Ramunap Excavator if we want to. I think we're just going to take 2 from this Collector Ouphe this turn. Yep. If we had one more land in the graveyard, they probably wouldn't make that attack in case of crop rotation. But we need 3 to pop the Reclaimer into being the big mode. Wasteland, right? Yeah, that's pretty good. What do they hit here? They hit our green source. Pretty reasonable. They have a removal spell for the Reclaimer. That would be the real thing that jams us up here. And a forest. Right. And we're just going to play out this Glimmerpost. Give ourselves access to turning it into another Cloudpost. We already have a green source now from this forest. Once upon a time. It's not really how you want that card to go. You want it in your opening hand and not really ever again. What would they like to reveal to us? A Marsh Flats. Not the most exciting of cards to find. Cracking the Marsh Flats. This feels like Opposition Agent again. Maybe we're supposed to fetch earlier. Alright, nope, here we are. Knight of the Reliquary. Okay, that's a thing, isn't it? Turn our Glimmerpost into a Cloudpost, please. Once upon a time. So these tap for 2 mana each. We play this to tap for 3 each, but where does that get us? So we can play out this forest into Ramunap Excavator. If our opponent wastelands us, we can just cycle it off with a Reclaimer at this point. Next turn, we should be able to make the Primeval Titan. We should hopefully do a pretty good job of stabilising the game for us. Karakas, sure. Are they going to try and use the Knight of the Reliquary to attack our mana base, or are they going to use it to attack our face? It's genuinely a tough call, I think. Depends what the rest of their hand is, though. Swords to Plowshares. Okay. No Ramunap Excavator for us. But it's a bit more life to pad with, so that's right. Okay, so they're attacking with this so they can go and get Bojuka Bog and kill our Reclaimer. So I'm not going to fall for that. I'm just going to take 2. This Knight of the Reliquary can be activated at instant speed, which is a little bit annoying for us. Alright, they're doing it now. What are they going to find? A Wasteland, sure. An Endurance, sure. They're going to shuffle our graveyard in. They might do. They are, sure. So this Wasteland means we can't really activate our Reclaim. Oh, they're just going straight for it here, aren't they? And we'll just sacrifice this Cloudpost they've targeted for another Cloudpost, I guess. They could have just held it up so we can't use our Reclaimer. Maybe their plan is just burn through all of our things whilst pumping their Knight. Once upon a time. So if I play this, these tap for 3 mana each. So I can go 3, 6. I can tap all of these. And I can sacrifice the Glimmerpost or the basic forest here. We're just going to get another green source. I think it's supposed to be the Glimmerpost here. I'll sacrifice the forest here. We'll go and get a Yavimaya. Oh, it's tapped, isn't it? What am I doing? I made a horrible error there. I was supposed to leave the Glimmerpost open and then tap that. Oh, I just completely punted that turn. Oh no. What am I doing? So I used to play with crop rotation. I made a horrible error there. We should have had a Primeval Titan this turn. I don't know why I tapped the Glimmerpost first. We're supposed to wait on that one. What a misplay. So now they can go and get a Wasteland here off of this Knight, take out our green source, and then we're not in a great position then. Yeah, we just absolutely punted that. That's embarrassing. Alright. Are they attacking with the Knight as well? They are, okay. So we're just taking a big hit. No, they're not attacking with the Knight. They want to save it for a Wasteland, sure. Yep. Oh, can we recover this game? I think this game was relatively easy to win if we cast that Primeval Titan. Alright. So I'm going to get a Wasteland here, take out our green source. Which stops us from casting the Primeval Titan. We can cast the One Ring just as a fog for a turn, which I think we might have to do now due to my error. Alright, they're going for Cloudpost. Okay. That's not a land. So this is Tavern of 2, 1 and 1. So we can cast the One Ring, but that doesn't actually work against the Questing Beast. I think we're casting this and probably calling it a day in this game. Glacial Chasm doesn't work against Questing Beast, but Karakas does. So we can play this out. We can bounce the Questing Beast and then go and get the Glacial Chasm. God, we've made this game so much more difficult for ourselves. I think we do lose this game. But we're ahead on clock, so I'm not too worried. We should be able to win a game 3. But I do like making things difficult for myself sometimes. Shouldered's Edict. Interesting. They can just go and get a Wasteland. Do that with... I don't think it's worth my time playing this game. That punt just cost us the whole game. May as well start from scratch again. Alright, we'll just resubmit. I think our deck is heavily favoured in this matchup. Just need to not play like an absolute clown. Okay, so shall we try this again? We'll keep this. We've got a Once Upon a Time. Pretty good way to start the game off. Glimmerpost, I guess. That's what the crowd demands. Let's play out this Elvish Reclaimer. It's unlikely they can kill our land and our Elvish Reclaimer in one go. So we have the choice of playing out a second Reclaimer or holding up crop rotation next turn. I think I'm more inclined to crop rotate because that lets us play around Wasteland to an effect. Alright, so they're cracking the Windset Teeth they just found. We get Thoughtseize maybe? Feels like something that should be in our opponent's deck. A Hex Drinker. Yeah, we are full into Maverick Town over here. Okay. Another crop rotation. We will play out this Cloudpost and pass. We should be able to race this Hex Drinker. A Marsh Flats. Cracking the Marsh Flats. A Noble Hierarch. Sure. Our opponent's going to attack us for a little bit. We can take 3 here. And they're leveling up their Hex Drinker. We're not going to activate our crop rotation here. I don't think it's necessary. Another Reclaimer. So we'll play out this Glimmerpost. And we'll deploy a Reclaimer because our other land's tapped for green anyway. Are we supposed to just go and put another Reclaimer into play? Or are we just supposed to hold up these double crop rotations? Or a Reclaimer activation itself? We will need to find some business at some point. Now, Reclaimer can find you business as long as you keep drawing lands. If we keep drawing lands, we can turn that into business. If we don't draw lands, then we're drawing business. So we should be okay. Reclaimer very much being the glue that's holding our deck together right now. Sure, you can level up. Sure, it's got protection from a bunch of other stuff. There's this instance, I believe. Yeah. We're not targeting that with anything, so... We could actually double block and kill this if we crop rotate, and activate the Reclaimer. But I think we'll just take a little bit of damage. It's just a tiny bit of damage at the end of the day. So I'll do this. Float green. Pay 2. Sacrifice the Glimmerpost. Go and get ourselves another Cloudpost. Right, over to us. How useful is this Karakas going to be? Do we want to turn it into something else? So we go for 4. Play out this expedition map. And we can crack this expedition map. And we'll go and get ourselves... I think we want to start tabernacling our opponent or anything. Could get a Glimmerpost here. Because that would mean we've got enough mana to do all the things we want anyway. And it gives us a little bit of life to work with. So I think we'll get a Glimmerpost. We'll play this. We have double crop rotation available. As well as an Elvish Reclaimer activation. Alright. And end of turn, Once Upon a Time for our opponent there. We're revealing a Wasteland. We have the crop rotation to play around that. So I don't really mind. We also have the onboard Reclaimers. So I doubt they're going to do anything with this Wasteland. There it is. Unless they're going to kill both of our guys first. Green Sun Zenith for 2. What is that going to be? Collector Ouphe is the only thing I'm thinking of here. Sure. With a Broom Apprentice. That was not the one I was expecting. Okay, our opponent does have an eject button from this game. I see. So they're going to Chain of Smog themselves. Okay. What do we have here? Do we have a useful land? We'll make them go Hellbent first. Okay, so now we float green, we crop rotate, and see if we can find anything. This is life loss, so that's not going to do it. What do we have here? Glacial Chasm isn't going to work either, is it? But maybe our opponent doesn't know that. This doesn't work, but our opponent might make a mistake. And that's what we're playing for here. Oh, they know. Okay. Yeah, so that game we punted was pretty backbreaking for us. That's really upsetting. Yeah. Like, we should have had this round. That punt of not putting the Primeval Titan into play was a mistake. I didn't know our opponent had like an eject button with this game in terms of like a combo, because normally Maverick doesn't run that sort of thing, and we can just sort of, you know, roll all over Maverick as a general rule. But they had like a combo, which is pretty unfortunate for us. That round is definitely my bad there. All right, let's go to round 2. Right, this hand looks like a keep to me. We've got a Reclaimer, we've got an Expedition Map, Glimmerpost. We've got the stuff we're interested in here, and we've got the Once Upon a Time to kick it all off with. Chromox from our opponent. This could represent a bunch of stuff, but we'll get a lot of information when we see what they imprint. A Dark Ritual. Okay. Oh, we're full on Ouphe spells. Yeah, we got no hope in this game. They might not be Ouphe spells. They might just be mono black stuff, because Daffy Voidwalker isn't in Ouphe spells. So maybe we've dodged that bullet. Unless we're on like a weird mono black build that happens to have Daffy Voidwalker, but I'm expecting our opponent to not be on that. So let's have a free look with Once Upon a Time. Kind of don't want our opponent to make us discard a Primeval Titan, and then they get it with the Daffy Voidwalker. That's probably quite bad for us. I think I'm actually just going to take a Glimmerpost here, like a coward. And I guess we're going to start things off with a Reclaimer. You know, this is another matchup where we have to keep an eye out for opposition agent. A Grief. Yeah, so this is why we didn't want to get the Primeval Titan, because our opponent just discards it from our hand, sacrifice the Daffy Voidwalker, and then they have all the mana that they could ever hope for, and if they've got any useful lands like Wastelands or as a Saga, they get those into play. We took our Expedition Map, sure. So our Ramunap Excavator is going to be next to Useless. With this trigger on the stack. Sure, we'll just take it. I don't think we're sacrificing our Forest just yet. Let's see what this turn cycle holds for us. Another Grief. Shouldered the Apocalypse. Okay. And an Ancient Tomb. Understood, opponent. I think I'm sacking the Forest. We're going to get ourselves a Karakas here. So get rid of the Shouldered. Let me Karakas you. Oh, I seem to have missed. Do I not have an upkeep stop set? Okay. So what are we doing here? We're probably playing out a Thespian stage of a Glimmerpost. How much are we taking this turn? Taking 6 damage this turn. We play out Thespian stage, turn it into a Cloudpost. And then we will bounce this Shouldered. Sure, you can get some life. Like, if our opponent has opposition agent, we're going to lose to it. So there's a Shouldered again. Just thinking if we want to try and get them with a 2020 here. If we have to bounce this, then we have to do some Cloudpost shenanigans here. Otherwise we're going to die. We have to get Glimmerposts and stuff. So we're going to go get Cloudpost here. On tap. We now have an upkeep stop. We bounce this. Draw for a turn. Green Sun Zenith. That's not the one we're after right now. We play out this Glimmerpost. This gains us enough life that we don't die to what's on board. We can cast a Primeval Titan. That's going to get us a bunch of life back. Shoulder the Apocalypse. Yep. Take some damage here. Not great for us right now. So we need this to be a green source, I think. So we can cast Primeval Titan. We'll go and get this Yavimaya. So this is going to cast 1. It's going to tap for 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana, 4 mana. 1 mana, 2 mana. Yeah, we definitely have enough mana for this. We just need to remember to actually bounce this, play this out, gain some life. So this is 3 mana, 4, 5 mana. That's not enough actually here, is it? How are we supposed to get around this problem we find ourselves in here? Done the maths wrong again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have enough to cast this, but this is 7. Is there anything good we can find with our Green Sun? We can get a Azusa. So tap this for 3. And this. We can cast this for 3. This gets us a Azusa, which gives us another land to put into play. We could Green Sun Zenith here again, or we can hold up the Reclaimer in case something goes wrong. I think that's the way forward here. So we can double block the Grief and take 3 this turn. If we have to get Glacial Chasm, that's an option to us, but it's going to be very hard to win if we have to do that. Big Mama Sheldred says hello. We turn our Glimmerpost into a Cloudpost here, so we just have more mana to work with. Puts us to 1. We trade with the Grief. Bounce this. Primeval Titan. I see. So this is tapping for 3. So we can go 3, 4, 5, 6. Cast this guy. And this can get us the Glimmerpost and the Vesuva. The Vesuva can copy the Glimmerpost. Gives us a bunch more life to work with. And guess we can attack for 1 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this taps for 10. 11, 12, 13, 14. But we also get to attack with our Primeval Titan and gain a bunch of life and get a bunch of good stuff. What is this? Something large. Aghalim's Awakening. On that. Okay, they can take out one of our green suns, but this also frees up our Karakas for a turn, which is very tasty. Do we have anything scary? No, not really. Right, so they're holding up Opposition Agent. Understood. Sure, we'll take that. Okay, so we can get attacks with our Primeval Titan here. They have the Opposition Agent. We can then activate Eye of Ugin in response if they try and stop us getting lands out of our deck. So here's the Opposition Agent. So the question is, how deep are we going on this plan? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we tap this for 5, and then we can just tap these lands and activate this for an Emrakul. And then, do we need to pad our life total again this turn? Possibly. We cast this crop rotation, sacrificing. So this is 5, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, so we can sacrifice this Glimmerpost. Go and get ourselves a Vesuva, copying the Glimmerpost, gain ourselves a bit of life. And we will, this is a May trigger, so we'll just say no on this. And then we have Emrakul next turn. They can double block and kill our Titan if they want, but it's not going to work out well for them. Our opponent's in a bit of a bind there, because either we get all these great triggers off of this Primeval Titan, or we get to shoot it for our guy. And either of them probably loses them the game. Our opponent's on 2 life as well. So their Ancient Tombs are only tapping for 1 now, due to our Takenuma. Sure, I guess. It's not going to do it, is it? Alright, we got the concession. So, Opposition Agent. Not great for us. Collector Ouphe is the only thing I'm interested in, I think, here, because they might have Helm combo in their deck, and we can shoot with this as a way of blowing up, stopping their Helm from doing anything. So I'm interested in this. What am I going to cut for? They didn't show us anything looking like Wasteland, so we can probably... Like Pithing Needle also deals with the Helm as well. But we can kind of split the difference, maybe. I guess we don't need... Do we need Bojuka Bog in this matchup? I don't think so. Although if they have like ill-gotten gains, we might find ourselves wanting that. I think this is a fine difference. I guess Collector Ouphe is easier for us to find because of the Green Sun Zenith. We could also bring in like Force of Vigors if that's what we want, but I don't think it is. We don't care about Leyline. Like if they show us more stuff, if they show us like Urza's Saga or something, then we can change our mind a little bit. This hand is asking a lot from our Once Upon a Time. I think we're going to mulligan this. This is again asking quite a lot from our Once Upon a Time. But at least we have some other lands. I guess I'm going to say keep, and I'm going to throw back the Excavator. This Azusa is not looking very good either, but there might be a Leyline deck. If they discard us, we can do Once Upon a Time looking for a land. Alright, so we'll let this resolve, and then with the trigger on the stack, we will cast this for free. We are looking for a land. We found a land. Alright, so we're probably losing our Elvish Reclaimer here, though. But that's fine. I could take the Green Sun, because it's flexible. But I think the correct play there is the Reclaimer. Right, and an Ancient Tomb. The One Ring. Let's play a Forest. We don't have Dryad Arbors in the list, so there's nothing we can fetch with the Green Sun for 0. We can go and get a Reclaimer next turn. Khan the Great Creator. So our One Ring not looking so hot. What are they going to fetch here? Liquid metal coating. Alright. They're going to be one of those. I think we are going to Green Sun Zenith for an Elvish Reclaimer here. Just get something that can pressure the Khan, so we don't get lattice locked. Our hand looks pretty bad against this Khan as well. Sure. Goodbye, Forest. This does put it in our graveyard though, which is not nothing. Cloudpost. Is this what I want to dispatch with? We can play a Vesuva copying the Ancient Tomb is what I'm thinking here. And save the Cloudpost for a bit. Attack Khan. Our opponent is quite far ahead of this game. They've assembled a little wasteland machine over there. We'll play this out because it's not doing any good in our hand anyway, so... Okay, they've also shown us Khan that we didn't see in the previous game. We maybe could have guessed that they had a Khan, to be fair. Why have they... Liquid metal coating our expedition map? That's an interesting one. Khan already has that covered. It's already an artifact, so... Right. They're revealing a card from outside the game. What are we going to see here? Helm of Obedience. There it is. So this turn we get to attack Khan and kill it, which unlocks some of our other stuff. We don't have anything that's really going to deal with this Helm of Obedience though. We need to find that. So what's the best way of finding it? So we have 1, 2 mana, 3 mana. Oh, we need to go to actual main phase here. I think we're playing the Yavimaya here. And then we're playing the One Ring. Just draw a card. This is pretty good with the Azusa as well. So we need them to not have access to black this turn. Khan the Great Creator. Okay. That's a shame. Sure. You're going to blow up our Yavimaya. That makes our Elvish Reclaimer getting close to being bigger. I guess we go to attacks. We attack Khan the Great Creator. Play this out. And I guess we're taking 2 here. Play Azusa. We can play out some lands. We certainly have some mana sources here. But if our opponent gets a little bit of mana, they can try and lattice lock us. And then they just need to deal with our 2 guys on board. I think that turn where they hit the expedition map with the coating might come back to bite them. So Chrome Mox from our opponent. Pitching a Grief. A Dark Ritual into Dathly Voidwalker or Leyline, I assume. Leyline of the Void, sure. Yeah. So they've shown us stuff that makes me actually want the Force of Vigors now. But I think we don't want the Collector Ouphe. I think the Pithing Needle event against Khan is good. We probably could have surmised that was in their deck. So if we want these 4 in our deck, what do we want? I don't like Ramunap Excavator in this matchup. They're not really attacking our mana base. These Force of Vigors, are we supposed to... Have we got any lands that we can trim down on? I think Bojuka Bog is not that necessary here. Glacial Chasm definitely has some text. Yeah, the rest of them still have text. Are we supposed to trim down on the One Ring because our opponent's got all these Khans in their deck? Probably, and then maybe trim a Once Upon a Time. But do we have enough green? So we got what? 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, that's fine. Or do you want to trim down on Expedition map and keep the Once Upon a Time just because of Khan? Yeah, I think that's fine. Let's try this. Interesting. Very interesting. I don't think we can keep this one though. Like, it makes mana, so we can Cloudpost, then Vesuva. We're going to need to find some business if we keep a hand like this. We're just going to throw back the Ulamog so it can't be discarded from our hand. This blanks all our opponent's discard, but does make our hand look a bit rubbish. So maybe we're not supposed to keep this one. But we've got loads of lands. We're going to draw into business at some point. Play Cloudpost and pass. Wouldn't mind drawing a Pithing Needle. Our opponent could turn 1 us. Thoughtseize. Yeah, 3 damage. Let's play this. Copy the Cloudpost and pass. We're pretty close to activating our Eye of Ugin here already. I want to see what we drew for the turn. Sure, it's nothing of use. I guess we'll just play out this Glimmerpost. Gain some life. So we have 7 mana. So next time we can play the Eye of Ugin and activate it and then play an Ulamog the turn after. So we need our opponent not to kill us on their next turn. So this is 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, which is enough to cast Ulamog. So that's our strategy here. Oh, we might be getting rocked by an opposition agent here, actually. Should have done this earlier. Yeah, if they've got opposition agent now, I've punted this game. Sugar. Yeah, we could have avoided this entirely. We're playing around discard, but we got hit by the opposition agent. Yeah, it's pretty bad. We don't have any removal in our deck either, so we're very much doing other things right now. We do have a Dark Depths. And we can remove a lot of counters from this Dark Depths. So I guess that's our plan now. Yeah, maybe we're supposed to do it then. Because if they're not hitting us with discard, what are they hitting us with, right? So maybe we should have just seen that and gone, okay, we'll not do it. What did it actually get off of us? It took the Ulamog, sure. That's the one we can cast more immediately. Alright, we'll take some hits. Remove counter. Remove counter. Not how we drew it up, but it's where we are. Fetch land not looking great. So this is 3, 6. So if I play this Yavimaya, I get access to another counter removal. If our opponent plays Helm Obedience, we can smash their ley line. We do have some pretty good creatures they can just naturally find off the Helm though, so that's certainly something to be a little bit worried about. Okay. A Doughty Voidwalker. Sure, that adds to their clock. This is a real problem we're going to have to worry about. Take 3 here. Removing a bunch of counters. 2 turns away. Pithing Needle. I think what we're scared of here is Helm of Obedience. Actually, we're not even that scared of Helm of Obedience because we're probably more scared of Khan. I think we're supposed to play out this Karakas. Tap this for green. Play Pithing Needle on Khan the Great Creator. And then pass a turn. Remove 3 counters this turn, 3 counters the next turn. And then we're done. As long as they don't have any sacrifice effects. Alright, so now we have to fire this off. Because we're going to lose the ability to do it. Maybe we're supposed to be worried about Helm. I don't know. Like, Khan gets Helm. Does a whole bunch of stuff for them. Now Doughty Voidwalker, sure. They're scooping. They don't think they can beat my Marilage in 2 turns. Alright. Sure. We managed to win that one, I guess. Let's go to round 3. This is a weird hand. We don't have any lands. I think we have to mulligan this. It's got more lands, so I can't really argue about that. I guess we'll keep this, and I don't really want to get wastelanded here. We'll put back the Primeval Titan. The green sun's slightly more flexible. It will lead out on the Reclaimer. It means if we draw a land, it gives us a lot more options next turn. We could lead out on the Pithing Needle, but we might not need it on wasteland. Our opponent's unlikely to wasteland us in the face of an Elvish Reclaimer. Or I could just have the cold read and just take us out mana-wise. Ancient Tomb from our opponent. What flavour of Ancient Tomb are you? Chromox. I think we're about to find out. It's just a Blood Moon affair. A Dark Ritual. Okay, so we're probably looking at something similar to the previous round. Drop an opposition agent maybe. Oh, Wishclaw Talisman. Okay, so we're Black Saga Storm. Lion's Eye Diamond. Or they could be, you know, a new build around Bowmasters like the one I played probably yesterday for you guys. Sure. There's a Wishclaw. We're taking a spin. I assume our opponent is on like some sort of Bowmasters combo deck here. It might be on my exact list, who knows. So far all these cards are in my list. I did post it online, so wouldn't be a surprise if people had gotten onto it. This is going to be a pretty difficult matchup for us to do anything with here. So we play out Glimmerpost, give it a life. We can play this Pithing Needle on Wishful Talisman. We could always get our own activation out of it first, but our opponent could just have more of them. It's just best if we just stop this being a resource for our opponent. We have a Bojuka Bog in hand rather than in the graveyard, so it's just going to be an Orcish Bowmasters. It is. Okay. So they ping it for 1 and they get the 1-1. The 1-1 blocks it and it dies. Might be a tricky one here. Mycint Gardens. Okay, so not on the exact same list I played. It might be more on the list that Brian Cook played recently, which had Runehorn Hellkite in. That had the Mycint Gardens in. Khan the Great Creator. Sure. Presumably going to find him a Lion's Eye Diamond. Going to reveal an artifact. A Lion's Eye Diamond. Here's a Lion's Eye Diamond. And no response. Not attacking with the Bowmasters either. Interesting. Alright, let's crop rotate away our Boseiju, I think. Let's Go and get Cloudpost. Ramunap Excavator. What does that do for us? Not a lot. We get our Boseiju back. That's not really where I want to be. I guess we can just play out our hand. So we play this. This guy can be cast off of this. We can cast this guy off of this. And then we just hope that we don't die. Our opponent should win this match. Their deck is heavily favoured against us. Cloudpost is traditionally quite weak against combo decks. That's why it's running Mindbreak Traps and things. A lot of our sideboard has utility here as well. So it's going to be hard to work out what comes in and what goes out. Right. Haywire Might. They want to get rid of our Pithing Needle on Wishlore Talisman. Yep, there's our Pithing Needle being targeted. There it goes. So have they got another Wishlore Talisman, I suspect? There it is. So then they use the Mycosynth Gardens to have a look. Go and get an Echo of Eons. And then they get to spin. They can turn the Mycosynth Gardens into another Lion's Eye Diamond. Yeah. And then they can sack it for 3 mana. So then Wishlore Talisman. Because the sacrifice in Lion's Eye Diamond doesn't involve tapping. So they can wheel with 2 mana floating here. We can get a fresh grip. Probably not going to get us anywhere, but yep. So we're going to take some pings from the old Bowmasters. But we can cast a Primeval Titan next turn. Something like a... yeah, they're probably going to ping our guys down, actually. Something like the One Ring would actually be quite useful here, because it will give us a turn off of our opponent being able to ping us with anything. But our opponent should be able to win from this position, as long as their deck's built well enough. Good old Orcish Bowmasters. Lion's Eye Diamond, Lion's Eye Diamond. Spinning again. Into we are. I think I saw somebody post this version of the deck on Twitter the other day with like the Khan package instead of the Burning Wish package that I ran. Right, okay. Alright, so we have the One Ring, so we might be able to buy ourselves a bit of time. So this is 1, 2, this is 3, 4, 5, 6 mana next turn. We could just play out the Tabernacle and try and mess our opponent's mana, but this Orc army is going to kill us pretty quickly. So we have to play the One Ring, but it doesn't do anything in the face of Khan, which is awkward. Do we want to just tap all of our opponent's mana, or do we want to try and progress the game? That is interesting. How much mana do we actually have here? 2, 3. So this is 3, 4, 5. It's not really enough to do what we need to do, is it? We're definitely casting the One Ring. I'm just working out what we play. I think we'll probably play the Tabernacle here and try and tax our opponent's mana. 1, 2, 3, 4. The One Ring. So we have protection for a turn, and then maybe we can exile some stuff, because we've got a crop rotation that we can fire off in a sec as well. So we're just looking to get Ulamog mana. So we need 10. So we get another Cloudpost. That's 3, 6, 7, 8. We play this 9, 10, 11. So we can cast Ulamog on our next turn if we play the Glimmerpost, and we get Cloudpost in this turn. If they do a wheel here, the Orcish Bowmasters have to target something, so they probably have to target their own Orc army, which is kind of fun. I'll sacrifice is Yavimaya, please. And I'll go and get a Cloudpost. No bird encounters. Gain some life. This is 8, 9, 10 mana for Ulamog. I would like to exile their Shouldred, I think, here. And we can exile the Orc army, or we can exile the Bowmasters. Depends on if we think they can remove our Ulamog, because the Ulamog can block the Orc army quite easily. I think... what is worse for us here? Like, we can exile the Khan and turn our One Ring back on, which is also interesting to me. Yeah, genuinely a toughie here. I don't think they can remove our Ulamog, but Ulamog can't really attack into the Orc army either, but doesn't need to. That's an interesting choice. Would I like the Khan to go away? If the Khan goes away, it's no good. We take this out. I think it has to be the Bowmasters. And we can just block the Khan. Block the Orcish army. Don't believe they have a main deck way of getting around this. They need to find the combo to go off again. They've already exiled 2 of their echoes. 3 of their echoes, okay. Next turn we can play Primeval Titan. Because this is indestructible, I don't need to pay with the Tabernacle. This is destroy. So we've got 12 mana to work with. So we can play Primeval Titan, gain a bunch of life, possibly put ourselves out of reach here. We can prepare for the Emrakul turn next turn as well. Borg. Don't think this is a game about our opponent's life total so much as it is about ours, really. If they don't reduce it to 0 soon, then they will lose, because we just have the inevitability set up right now. Got another Entomb. Alright, they're going for a Karn here. Mycosynth Lattice. Okay. That is interesting. They got another Karn to go with it. They do. Okay. So how does this game actually work out? Eventually our opponent draws the thing that gets them there, right? We have Boseiju, but we don't have a green source available to us. We have to hope that our opponent's cards are in the bottom 20 cards of their library. And then we can just do one big attack when the time comes. Sure, we're not losing these things. Primeval Titan we can't cast, that's fine, I guess. So the way we win this game now is our opponent's business end being further down into deck, and then eventually when they get to 20 cards in library, we attack once with Ulamog and mill them out. That's not a very exciting way to win a game of Magic the Gathering. It's what we've got here. Urza's Saga. Okay, that can do some work. 1, 2. They're gonna be massive, aren't they? Yeah, that should be enough to kill us here. I think we can scoot that one up there. We needed that to be in the bottom 20 cards of our opponent's library. So we have a bunch of stuff that's good here. Mindbreak Trap is good. Collector Ouphe is very good. Force of Vigor is pretty good too. What are we looking to board out? I think we're probably just having to get rid of things like the One Ring. And if we're boarding in all these things, maybe we don't need Once Upon a Time, because it's going to miss a load of stuff. Bojuka Bog definitely has text. Karakas is kind of our own combo in some ways. Cavern of Souls isn't really necessary here, is it? We're not worried about things getting counted. And just roll it like this. We got Pithing Needles for Karn. We got just some good resources here. Collector Ouphe and Expedition Map is a little bit of a nombo as well, I guess. But you don't want to get caught under a One Ring that's got bird encounters on against a Karn. We don't have a green mana to do the things we need. I think we need to mulligan into something that interacts with our opponent's hand. This qualifies, as long as we don't get wheeled on turn 1, but it's about the best we have, right? Collector Ouphe. Now we could try and go into Mindbreak Trap, but on the play, I think a turn 2 Collector Ouphe is good. I think we'd be mad to throw this one back. Get rid of the forest here. Actually, no, get rid of the Verdant Catacombs. Verdant Catacombs does have synergy with Ramunap Excavator, but I don't think the life is actually free to pay in this matchup where they're pinging you in increments of 1 or 7, I guess. I don't know, maybe that's wrong. Come on, opponent. Don't mess with our hand. Don't kill us. Just have a little setup turn. Play out, I don't know, a defense grid or something. I'm not sure defense grid's still going to be in their deck. A Chromox. Okay. How bad is this turn going to be for us? Please let us go to our second turn without being ruined. Massacre Worm. That's a weird one. Wasn't expecting to see that one. Shadow Spear. Okay, just playing out a bunch of junk right now. That's okay. Dark Ritual. Uh-oh. Lion's Eye Diamond. We're getting wheeled. Into. They're wheeling with 3 floating. Okay. Oh, they're not even using their Lion's Eye Diamonds. They can ping off again. We still have a Collector Ouphe. This time we have a Mindbreak Trap as well. So our opponent definitely helped us out a bit there. Dark Ritual. Yeah. So our Mindbreak Trap is live. So the next big business spell we can hit. A defense grid. Is there any point using a Mindbreak Trap on a defense grid? I think so. Makes them think we might have more, and if we do draw into another one or get wheeled and draw it up again, then we at least have it as a thing we can do. And Force of Vigor's alive if they wheel us as well. Orcish Bowmasters, sure. Okay, so play out our Glimmerpost, play out our Collector Ouphe, and pass a turn. Let's see if this stabilizes for us. Urza's Saga. I guess it won't. We do have a Pithing Needle for the Urza's Saga though, so that is somewhat of a blessing. So this plays the Reclaimer. This plays the Pithing Needle on Urza's Saga. And then I think we're just playing this Glimmerpost. Just getting a bit of life. We're going to turn into a Cloudpost when we get the chance. And then I'm not attacking, so we're just passing the turn. Now what they do is they put the Shadow Spear on the army and attack with the army token. Not sure. Oh, they can't. Sorry, they can't do that because of the Collector Ouphe. Ignore me. Collector Ouphe just being great. Can't have a block with the Collector Ouphe in case I have another Bowmaster that comes down against us. So we have this, which is named Khan, which we're going to do. Or do we name Wishclaw? No, we name Khan and hope that our guy sticks around. And then we choose one of these lands to get turned into a thing. Which one are we going to turn into a Cloudpost here? We could always just play Thespian stage and just get the Dark Depths and just win that way. That seems fine. So now we have an interesting choice here because of the Urza's Saga. I think we're just going to sacrifice this Thespian stage for a Cloudpost. Otherwise they can get a Pithing Needle and name Reclaimer or Thespian stage. If we get the Dark Depths, they just name the Thespian stage. But I guess that's not the end of the world. We just have to rotate it again. I don't know. But this way we just have the mana to cast Primeval Titan or Green Sun Zenith for Primeval Titan. Alright, they got the Haywire Might. So the next Urza's Saga can do stuff in theory. But they have to find green mana to activate their Haywire Might. And they need to get rid of our Collector Ouphe actually. So this isn't really going to help them out, I don't think. Keep forgetting how many layers of annoying stuff I have for our opponent to deal with. Khan the Great Creator. Alright, that's shut off with the Pithing Needle. Can we draw a useful thing? Not right now. Let's have another Cloudpost. So if we sacrifice this into a thingy, this will tap for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can't do the thing yet. But next turn we can. So we can go and get the Eye of Ugin at our opponent's end step. And we can go and get Emrakul, and then everyone has a great time. As long as that everyone is me. Vault of Whispers. Excellent. We've got the Yavimaya for a green source anyway, so I'm just going to get rid of this forest. So this wants to be the Eye of Ugin, doesn't it? Expedition map, not very helpful. 4, 8, 9, 10. So play this out. We pass the turn. Next turn, at our opponent's end step, we Eye of Ugin for Ulamog. Actually, can we get Emrakul instead? Is that just better? So this is 4, 8, 9, 10 mana. So 7 into this. Turn this into a Cloudpost. Emrakul our opponent. That seems pretty good. I think our opponent needs to be relatively attentive to their clock as well. They're quite a bit behind. I think we'll turn one of these Glimmerposts into a Cloudpost. This is 1, this is 3, this is 4, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yes, that's fine. Cloudpost, then we'll activate this and get Emrakul. Alright, so we got an Emrakul win there. We have to deal with all our opponent's nonsense again, but I think this is fine. There is certainly an option for things like Once Upon a Time to find our Collector Ouphe. Maybe that's better than these expedition maps. It's also green cards. Alright, we'll try it like this. Our opponent's in a bit of an awkward spot because they have to deal with Collector Ouphe, but they also have to deal with Pithing Needles and Mindbreak Traps and potentially Force of Vigor, which they haven't seen. Oh, no, they haven't seen it actually yet, but they should expect it. We can't keep this because it doesn't really interact with what our opponent's doing. We need to have something. Mindbreak Trap is something. I will take that. Once Upon a Time can also find us a little friend, hopefully. I think the Dark Depths is probably what's going to go back here. The lower our opponent goes, the better it is for us being able to use this Mindbreak Trap, I think. Because they're unlikely to have enough mana to make defense grid before they do their thing. Keep this. Goodbye, Dark Depths. Right, opponent. What do you have? There's a Saga plan. Alright, we have a Pithing Needle for that. Lotus Petal. Spell number 1. I'm thinking about something over there. I think I'm okay with playing out a forest for this. Let's cast our Once Upon a Time for free first. Should have done this before playing out a forest, I think. Just more lands, I guess. It's fine. Let's cast this. So we're going to name it as a Saga, but if they play a Khan next turn, that's going to jam us up a bit. Right. An Orcish Bowmasters. So they can play around the Mindbreak Trap relatively well here. Because they can just play 2 spells. We don't get to use our Mindbreak Trap before we get our hand wheeled away from us. Take some bow damage. So they don't have a wheel plan, otherwise you do that first because it grows your army token. Haywire Might, sure. So they might be able to get a bloat spell off this and use the Haywire Might. But this will already have done its job. Another one of those isn't really what I'm after right now. Because Cloudpost, if we get to another turn, we can Green Sun Zenith for Collector Ouphe. There's a Lion's Eye Diamond. Not a surprise to see it. Chromox, spell 1. And Reanimate. A defense grid. We don't have the mana to cast this, do we? So this just has to resolve. Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of damage here, but we do get to Green Sun Zenith on our turn, which should be pretty potent, I would say. So we can Vesuva this, and then our Cloudpost will tap for 2. That's pretty tasty. And this. Let's go and get your friend of mine, Collector Ouphe. Probably not my opponent's friend, but this is going to cut them off of all mana sources. So these Mindbreak Traps probably not going to do a lot, and we might just die with them in hand as we get beaten down by medium men. But hopefully they won't attack into the Haywire Might. They will hopefully attack into the Collector Ouphe with Haywire Might or anything else. Alright, excellent. Now we just need to... Okay, that's quite an interesting one. This is 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So still... We're not actually getting where we need to be here, are we? I'll play out this forest. We can crop rotate our opponent's turn even through the defense grid, so we might as well do that. I'm not sure we're actually crop rotating for anything in particular right now. Not sure what we need. Let's see what we find here. Primeval Titan. That's a good card, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's get the boy. Okay, I'll get Tabernacle to shut down what our opponent's doing. And we'll get the Eye of Ugin, I think, here. And we'll play this Yavimaya. Alright, our opponents had enough and we got the game there because Collector Ouphe was pretty good. I'm not sure our opponent's hand was very good either. They were just like all in on the as a saga plan. They didn't seem to have the wheels. In the build I played, which should have been on my channel yesterday, the Burning Wishes basically give you a lot more redundancy, so you're more likely to go off instead of needing to cast like big 4 mana cards to get bits and pieces going. Alright, we're 2-1, let's get around 4. We're on the play. Our hand looks alright. We're going to keep this. We're going to lead out on Once Upon a Time into Elvish Reclaimer, I suspect. Can't start paying its mana cost. I guess we'll take this Elvish Reclaimer. And we'll play the Elvish Reclaimer that they know about. Cavern of Souls. What is this going to name? Merfolk, maybe? Feels like a long time since I played a Merfolk. Archon. Okay, so we're mono-white initiative. Or, okay, we're red-white initiative. With Archon of Emeria. That's what this is for. Okay. So we can play Cloudpost and another Reclaimer. Don't hate that. What this lets us do is next turn we can play the forest, turn it into a Cloudpost, and then tap our other Cloudpost to Reclaimer again. So we get 2 Reclaimer activations next turn. Alternatively, if we draw a Glimmerpost, we can just play the One Ring. It's pretty good. We could trade here. That's not necessary right now. And we're not too bothered by the stuff that our opponent got going on. Archon creatures, but okay, we're making an Archon, aren't we? Sure. This is a bit annoying for our basic lands, for our non-basic lands, sorry. We can live through this, I think. So next turn, so these two, one of these becomes a Cloudpost, and the other one becomes, what does the other one become? It's interesting, isn't it? So if one of these becomes a Cloudpost, this taps for 2, we can turn the other one into Cloudpost. Doesn't really get us anywhere, does it? I think we sacrifice one of these, turn it into a Cloudpost. And this taps for 2, and we'll deploy Expedition Map. Do you want to do that, or do you want to... Or would you rather turn this into something else? Turn this into a Yavimaya. It's pretty bad against Blood Moon if our opponent's got it, but we already have the Reclaimer. Yeah, we'll turn this into a Yavimaya. So our opponent's not representing a huge clock yet. And we can play the One Ring if we need to next turn. There's a mountain. Alright, this looks like a Caves of Chaos adventure, maybe? Definitely getting that sort of vibe. Oh, Seasoned Engineer. Same, but different. Sure. So they're going to start copying their stuff next turn, which is going to be a bit rude. So we get one spell this turn. I think we go... play our Forest, and we just cast a Primeval Titan. I think we want to get Tabernacle here, mess with our opponent's mana base, and a Glimmerpost to give us a bit of a life buffer. That seems all well and good to me. And next turn we can play the One Ring and buy ourselves another turn whilst our Primeval Titan gets us the ability to cast an Emrakul. That's the plan. Curious to see how many of their guys they pay for here. The Reflection might not get paid, it might just copy the Seasoned Engineer. Yeah. So I'm going to take 5 from this. From the Trap. Because I'm going to go Forge and then Trap. I'm going to take a non-small amount of damage this turn. Or a large amount of damage, if you will. So the One Ring's going to hopefully get us there. Sending in the clowns. 5, 6, 7, 8. If they both hit, we can die here, right? So it's going to put us to 1, right? Because one of them is hit and one of them hasn't. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Alright. 1 life it is. So, just trying to work out if we need to get there. 6, 7, 8. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm pretty close to getting it done here, I think. Just trying to work out if we cycle this into something. If we cycle into a Glimmerpost. Yeah, we cycle this into a Glimmerpost. Or do we cycle it into a Cloudpost and the next one into a Glimmerpost? The one we're getting off the Primeval Titan. Yeah. Yes. We won't pay for this one. And... wait, we can pay for this, right? We have 4 Cloudposts, right? So yes. And yes. So I think the Tabernacle is relevant now. Or do I want to turn it into another bit of mana? I think we do. So this can go and get us a Glimmerpost. And we can go to attacks. Click attack. So we'll want to get an Eye of Ugin here. Where are you, Eye of Ugin? And let's just get another Glimmerpost for safety's sake. We go and get ourselves a basic land. We cast the One Ring. Alright, our opponent's had enough there. We weathered the storm, we got there. Now our opponent's going to have some amount of Blood Moon shenanigans that's going to be less than ideal for us to deal with. Are they going to have actual Blood Moons, or are they just going to have Magus of the Moon? Because boarding in Force of Vigor is going to be real bad against that. How useful is Pithing Needle? It can name the little goblin guy, but that's about it. Yeah, One Ring looks very good in this matchup. But I'm not really convinced by a lot of the other things we have going on. I don't think we're going to need a Bojuka Bog here. The Cavern of Souls can tap for green mana, which is nice, but it can also let us play like things like Elvish Reclaimer through a Chalice if they have one. How many of these are we going to play? I think we'll play these instead of Needles. And we'll run it like this. This hand is asking a lot from our Once Upon a Time, I think. I think I'm going to mulligan this one. Don't like this one a lot. But we do have some mana to work with. I guess we'll throw back the Emrakul and try this. We've got an emergency button. We've got a couple of emergency levers that we can pull here. Not sure how good Tabernacle is going to be against them. Lotus Petal. To make a turn 1 initiative guy, that we're pretty screwed. 4th Illingus. Sure, so this gives them 4 power and the Monarch. Yep, sure. Alright. It's probably not great for us. Alright, let's have a little Reclaimer. We could have played Tabernacle there, but I don't think that's going to get us anywhere. Like, they'll just pay and then just keep beating down, I guess. Touch the Spirit Realm. Okay. I think we might have to play the Tabernacle. If we'd have played the Tabernacle first turn, we would have been in a lot better shape. Actually, is that true? We'd have been in this exact same position, right? They just pay for these 2. Whereas now we definitely get to kill one of them. But this doesn't further our mana base, which is a real issue. It's going to be a tough one to win, I think. 4 power and a personal Howling Mine on turn 1 is a lot. There's a 3-turn clock, so we have to reduce it to a 6-turn clock. If they have a Summon Spirit Guide, then we just get absolutely rumbled here. They have a Summon Spirit Guide? Yeah, alright. This game is over. I think I'll probably skip this up in a sec. I'll take another draw. We might just end up going into the Glacial Chasm, but that's not even going to keep us alive for very long. I don't think we can win going down the Glacial Chasm route, to be honest. I think we can win full stop here, but our opponent's got a bunch of cards as well. For expedition map, if we can gain some life, that will buy us a turn. If our opponent plays nothing, then we get to kill them. No, sorry, we get to not die, not kill them. What am I talking about? Oh, long weekend. Alright. We'll have 6 through here. We're at least stopping them deploying additional threats a bit. Alright. What have we got for us? Deck. So we have to play this to survive. 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, we play this and get Yavimaya, then we play Primeval Titan next turn. That's probably good. It puts us up to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yavimaya gives us 2 mana. Yeah, okay. And Primeval Titan can get us some things that gain us some more life. As long as our opponent doesn't play anything too drastic this time, we might be able to turn the corner on this one. Primeval Titan, quite the magic card. Yep, we'll take our damage here. Alright, so they can play something scary here. Archon of Emeria. That is an issue. That's a very big issue for us. So they hit us for 6. So we need to get above 8 life here. Yikes, how are we supposed to do this? I guess we're not. I guess we have to go into... Going into the chasm doesn't help. We can't play the Yavimaya. Yeah, we're like 1 life away here. I guess we take this Glimmerpost. Maybe we can draw an Azusa. Once upon a time. So we have potentially 3, 4, 5 mana. So if we cast this... Oh my god, we actually found the Azusa here. It does get bounced, but I think it keeps us alive for another turn if I've done my maths right. I don't think I've done my maths right. Oh wait, we can only cast 1 spell a turn because of the Archon, right? Yeah. Yeah, no, we're just done there. Right, yeah. More silly initiative cards to worry about now. This one is a Monarch rather than initiative, but I think our plan here is fine. We could bring in something like Endurance to roadblock some of their guys. I think that's probably better than a Ramunap. Although, if we get into a horrible situation where we need to keep rebuying Glacial Chasm, we will need the Ramunap. So I think we probably just... Right, we're on the play now, though. So hopefully that'll be a bit better for us. Yeah, we can keep this one. The One Ring is a good magic card. It's only going to help with the whole stabilizing thing. Alright, let's cast our free spell. We just want another Cloudpost. We'll play out a Cloudpost. We'll pass. So I think next turn we play out Cloudpost. Turn after we play out the One Ring. Our opponent just goes Blood Moon here. That's going to be very irritating. We do have a basic. I'm just going to name Human. Okay, that could definitely cast the Mages of the Moon. Right, no, we're getting a Caves of Chaos Adventurer. Oakley dokley. Let's get the One Ring up and running. It's a little bit risky to draw some cards this, but it doesn't take much. So we'll play this one out. We can turn this into a Cloudpost in our opponent's turn, and then we can untap and cast a Primeval Titan. That should be relatively close to game. Make a bigger guy, but it can't attack us. You make additional guys. Right. So they're attacking here because they get a free card off of it. Oh, Jesus. Well, that's some amount of irritant. Alright. We had the game, I think, next turn. Oh, dear. Glimmerpost don't do anything. We can tap this One Ring to draw some cards. Not sure how smart an idea that is. We already have the mana to get to the Primeval Titan here. We just need 1 more mana after this. We can play this for Azusa to play out this and maybe another land, and then can cast the Primeval Titan next turn. That's something. It's a plan. Let's draw 2 cards to see if they're both lands. We just dump a load of lands into play. They were not. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So another land next turn gives us the Primeval Titan, which can at least trade with the Caves of Chaos Adventure and do some stuff. But we've lost our life gain engine, which means the One Ring, as well as what our opponent's doing, is just going to beat us. Just 7, 8, 9 damage. Alright, we just have to take it here. We can't tap our One Ring anymore. Drawing another One Ring would not be the worst. That's pretty annoying. But it's very much our opponent's jam is playing annoying things. Alright. I know, we'll take some damage. Okay. It doesn't really matter what we get here, does it? We get, let's get a forest and a forest. We're dead to our own One Ring here. Boo earns. Yeah, that was a very sad match, that one. Our opponent had to have the Blood Moon, but it's something they could have had. Like, it's something their deck definitely does, but they had to have it right there. The fact that it came off the top of the Caves of Chaos Adventure so you could see it was quite funny. But, yep, sometimes it's going to happen. Like, they have Archon and Magus, which are both good. Archon we can definitely play through. The Magus becomes challenging when they're doing other things. And I think the previous game, our opponent having the Archon just at the right time. I think we were like a whisker away from winning game 2 and 3 here. So I don't know how this matchup really is. I think the One Ring is probably very, very good at helping this matchup, just in terms of just giving yourself that turn of space, which is something that I found you need in this matchup back when it was like classic mono white, so it was a lot more aggressive. So now the deck isn't as aggressive. The One Ring buying your turn is probably even more valuable because you're more likely to get up to casting it. But yeah, it was awkward. If we'd have had a Blood Moon instead, we'd have been fine, but it just happened to be the Magus. I don't even know if they are running Blood Moon, to be fair. But the inability of this deck to kill a Magus of the Moon feels like a huge error to me. Alright, let's go to the final round. We are 2-2. This hand doesn't feel very exciting to me. I think we're going to mulligan this one. Jeez. Am I keeping this on the draw in the hopes that we can crack this? I don't think so. We have to mulligan again. This is no good. This is no good either, I don't think. At least we have the mana to crack our thing. Maybe we'll keep it and try and be victorious with a One Ring. At the mercy of Wasteland a little bit here. Underground Sea, okay. Personal Tutor, okay, we're getting Doomsday. This matchup should be borderline unwinnable, I would imagine. Not really sure how we're supposed to actually beat Doomsday. Right, we're going to play this. Our opponent casts Doomsday next turn, then we die on the turn after. One Ring doesn't protect us from our opponent winning the game. Yeah, we're just going to get absolutely ruined here. These are the sorts of matchups that just absolutely chew up the... is it worth... go on then, you can see our hand. I was debating conceding there. I think we're more or less lost. But we can play through a little bit longer. Dark Ritual, Doomsday. Are we dead this turn or not? Alright, our opponent's pile. Let's have a look at their exile zone just so we can see what sort of build they're on. Standard blue-black turbo Doomsday. All the cyclers in their pile. How do we stop our opponent from killing us? I think the answer is that we don't, to be honest. Game 1 life. That's exciting, isn't it? But this game is over. I assume this match is going to be borderline unwinnable because we can't really interact with our opponent in any meaningful fashion. At least with Storm and stuff, maybe a Mindbreak Trap can snag a game, or the Collector Ouphe can reduce their ability to generate mana or whatever, and shut off Wishclaw Talismans. But in this, none of our cards do anything. We don't have any real... Like, Endurance, that's a card, I guess. Like, we're just dead here. Yikes. So Carpet Flowers can do stuff sometimes. Endurance can do stuff sometimes. I think Endurance is probably the best card we have. I don't think these other cards are really going to matter. How much mana is Carpet Flowers going to generate us? Two maybe? Right? That's probably about the best we can hope for. I don't think we want Mindbreak Trap. It's just not a thing that realistically gets played into very much. Jeez. We can Pithing Needle with some Cyclers. That always feels pretty grim. I guess we don't need Bojuka Bog here. Karakas probably isn't necessary. Tabernacle isn't necessary. Glacial Chasm's not necessary. I don't think we can board out any more lands. Need to keep our big top end stuff. Azusa is like a turbo thing. Ramunap's like the grindy things. We don't need that. Pithing Needle on Cyclers. Is that really what I'm doing? Jeez. Maybe Expedition Map is just too slow. It's 3 mana over 2 turns to really get anything going. I think we just have to hope that we can get a hand that does something. We could board in Collector Ouphe just to maybe shut off like some of their lines, but it's real bad. Yeah, we'll keep this. I think this is probably one of the most skewed matchups in Legacy, to be honest. This feels like a 90-10 matchup, and there's not many of those. I just don't know what we're supposed to do here, especially with the build we have. We don't have any real interaction. Kind of wish we didn't punt that first round in one of those games against Maverick. Just tapping my lands in the wrong order. That was annoying. Could have had a 3-2 here, but we're almost certainly heading towards a 2-3. That's how little faith I have in winning this game. Let's try our Once Upon a Time. What are you going to show us, deck? A Boseiju. Okay, that can have some sort of interaction with our opponent, but they know it now, which is kind of less good. Let's play our Cloudpost. We're going to get absolutely smoked, I imagine. I should just be able to turbo off and just ignore what we're doing. Dark Ritual, we've got turn 1 Doomsday. Okay, so we die on turn 2, I think. No, maybe turn 3, depending on what's in their hand. If they've got another mana source, it's turn 3. Alright, let's see what they got. So they got Edge of Autumn. Any Street Wraiths in there? Can't really work out how many lands our opponent has got going on. We have one line of interaction here. So I guess we're supposed to take it. So we go... I kind of want to get this carpet out so we can at least do something next turn. But if our opponent counterspells this, we don't get to do our Boseiju. Alright. So our only recourse here is to shuffle their pile to mess it up and maybe ruin our opponent's land. I imagine because they saw the Boseiju, it wasn't going to work. But we have no other recourse here, and that's the best thing we can do. Next turn, we can play an Endurance and put those cards on the bottom of our opponent's library, and maybe that will do something. Yes, give me green mana. So we have 1 mana, 2 mana, 3 mana. If we play this copying the Cloudpost, we have 4 mana. Gets us an Endurance, puts those 2 cards on bottom of the library, gives us a very small chance of being able to beat our opponent down in time. Force of Will. Alright. Now does our opponent kill us? I think they had to have additional lands in their pile. But they should just be able to cycle through. They can cast an Thassa's Oracle now and we can't do anything yet. This matchup is unwinnable. It's just an absolute nightmare. None of the cards in our 75 cards really interact with Doomsday in any sort of meaningful fashion. So we finished 2 and 3, but we did punt one of the rounds because I tapped my lands in the wrong way like an absolute clown. But this has been a very long one to record, to be honest. It's about nearly 3 hours worth of recording this one. I had some opponents that were quite slow, but that might hopefully all be edited out for you guys. So I'm pretty tired now, but we're still going to do a debrief of the deck. So, this deck is obviously quite powerful. You know, we're doing the most powerful thing you can do, which is basically hard casting Emrakul. However, getting up there is always the problem I find with Cloudpost. Now, sometimes you can thread the needle and just go, okay, cool, not getting wastelanded, or whatever, I'm just doing my things, playing my guys, here we are, we win the game. But there's so many times when a little bit of interaction with your opponent, backed up by a decent clock, and you're sunk. And with the quality of clocks in the format right now, because of things like that red-white initiative deck, for example, and a bunch of combo decks and things, it feels awkward to be playing this deck. That being said, there's definitely meta games where it's good. So online, you tend to get more combo than you do on paper. So this won a paper tournament, which I think is important to note, where people want to play decks that play a slightly longer game, generally speaking. So they have more points of interaction, they have more ways of potentially outplaying people, and you know, they want to play a lot of Legacy. They don't just want to go, oh, here's my Grizzlebrand on turn 1 every time. So I can see this winning a paper tournament more than an online tournament, but that doesn't mean it can't win an online tournament. Like, the intrinsic power of the deck is pretty good. It just has quite a low floor sometimes, where you're just fumbling around trying to be able to cast your 4 green spell alongside all your colourless extra mana, which has always been an awkward thing with Cloudpost. That's kind of the nature of the deck. There is like a completely colourless Cloudpost deck, so it can always just go, okay, I'm just going to play my Cloudpost out. But then it doesn't get to play things like Elvish Reclaimer and Crop Rotation, which are 2 of the better cards. And obviously you don't get the prime time. You're playing Golos instead, which is certainly not good. So it's definitely a trade-off. What I will say, though, is the One Ring seems relatively promising here, because we have a bunch of these Glimmerposts that can give us life to counteract the One Ring. And what the One Ring does is it buys you a whole turn and digs you 3 cards in basically one turn cycle, more or less. So on the turn you play it, by the time you're playing more spells again afterwards, you've got 3 new cards in your hand. And what this deck sometimes needs is a way of ending the game. So sometimes you end up with a bunch of mana and no way of actually finishing the game. This One Ring can definitely fix that. And sometimes you have a bunch of guys and not enough mana, and again, the One Ring can fix that. So it feels like an interesting way of smoothing your draws a little bit. But the problem I find is sometimes the first few turns of the game can feel really rough. And obviously the One Ring doesn't necessarily help that. It can buy you a little bit of time if you can get to that point. But hands with this deck that don't have like Elvish Reclaimer in feel bad, right? That's the general feeling I get when we're not reclaiming and doing stuff. Like, I guess you can have a crop rotation instead, and that can kind of get you there. But you need to have a crop rotation or reclaimer effect. Otherwise, your hand feels really anemic at times. And there's not really a suitable way of fixing that. So it does mean that the difference between the ceiling and the floor of this deck is, you know, not enormous, but it's pretty large. Like, you can definitely just have a deck that doesn't do anything quite often with this. But I can certainly see why people are playing it. Like, Primeval Titan is one of the more enjoyable cards to cast, full stop, right? Just getting a search for your deck for a couple of lands, chuck them into play, what's not to love? And being able to sort of weave your way up to the top end is quite fun. I think maybe, I don't know, the problem with playing more middling stuff is that it has to come from somewhere, right? And then you're losing other bits and pieces out of it. So I'm not really sure how I would change this deck. But it's not a deck that I would take to like a big tournament. I didn't really have the experience enough with it to do that. As you saw, I made an embarrassing mistake at one point. But I feel there's quite a few stuff that could prey on this at the moment. You know, like we saw, we don't have answers to Magus of the Moon, which is the most played Blood Moon effect. So the way that we beat Magus of the Moon with this deck is hard cast Primeval Titan and attack a few times and then play other stuff. Now, if they've just got a Magus of the Moon, that's fine. And that'll probably get you there in the end. But if they've got any sort of like pressure like our opponent had in the other game, then we just got nothing. They're just going to beat us down with a guy that's big enough to beat Primeval Titan. And then we're just kind of getting nowhere with ourselves. So I think this deck not having an answer to Magus of the Moon is an error. It's the most played Moon effect. And we also don't have an answer to Opposition Agent, which is, you know, a bit awkward. Now, we can definitely beat Opposition Agent, especially with the One Ring. Gives us more ways of just drawing the raw cards, just playing our stuff. But again, it feels like we've got some serious holes, and maybe we're just trying to say, okay, we're not going to beat those. But just saying, oh, we're not going to be able to beat Magus of the Moon feels like an incredibly bold thing to do with this deck, considering that's the tool that most people are going to reach for against you. You can play some dismembers. Like the Collector Ouphe on its own felt like a pretty fine way of dealing with a lot of the things that we were worried about, artifact-wise. So you maybe just run like another Collector Ouphe instead of a Force of Vigor. So you've just got multiple copies and redundancy. And then run like 3 dismembers. I think I'd rather be able to answer, if you read my Patreon and my articles on there, you'll know that I think answering Magus of the Moon is way more important than answering Blood Moon. And that's why I sometimes advocate for decks, for Rainbow Depths, for example, to not even try and beat Blood Moon necessarily, but have answers for Magus of the Moon. And I think you're just going to end up with a better deck that way instead of skewing your entire sideboard to deal with that. But that's a whole different deck. But I think the point remains that we are a little bit weak to certain things. Yeah, all right, I think I'm done for today. I'm really tired. Sorry if this one has been a bit of a drag in places. It's been quite a long league, and I'm quite exhausted from the weekend. So thank you very much for watching. Remember to check out the Patreon and join the Discord and say hello, and just like and subscribe. All right, thank you very much, and goodbye.